In the Philippines, Tzu Chi organized small-scale blessing ceremonies in Ormoc Great Love Village. In Taiwan, we take a look at how the government make a list of medical personnel before the arrival of COVID vaccines. Selamat datang ke DaAi Headlines, saya Simon Gan. Terima kasih menyertai sesi berita kita. In the Philippines, due to the pandemic prevention restrictions, Tzu Chi's blessing ceremonies in Ormoc Village have become small-scale blessing activities in their communities. For the residents who have been impacted by the pandemic, the blessing activities have given them spiritual support.
As one of the youth, we were encouraged to pray for the world and unite as one.
The blessing delivery vehicle has come to Ormoc Great Love Village in the Philippines.
Hello, good morning.
We will spread love to laborers and other people in need. We reciprocate people's love by donating filled account banks.
Since Typhoon Haiyan in 2013, Josephine has saved the red envelopes of blessing and wisdom every year.
These are red envelopes of blessing and wisdom I received every year. I participate in Tzu Chi's activities wholeheartedly. I feel the joy of being there.
Prayer and blessing also a great reflection. Ato i-reflect ang atong kaugalingon.
I hope the pandemic will end soon and the world can return to its normal track.
Despite the pandemic, people feel uplifted by the small-scale blessing activities. They can now continue to move forward.
Tzu Chi US Headquarters hosted the first online Spanish Lunar New Year blessing ceremony, with more than 200 families from 13 countries meeting via cloud technology. Besides sharing their experiences, the whole process was conducted in Spanish, hoping to encourage more Spanish speakers to join the ranks of volunteers.
Spanish-speaking volunteers from 13 countries, including Mexico, Dominican Republic, and Argentina, all meet online at the same time.
Aquí les deseo sinceramente a todos.
The Tzu Chi's Three Steps in USA is a pioneering work. Although we have only taken the first step, with this first step, we hope to do better next year.
Tzu Chi US Headquarters organized the first online Spanish Lunar New Year blessing ceremony, which was prepared for more than 1 month. Language was the biggest difficulty.
As we don't understand Spanish, we often encountered difficulties in which point to enter or connect to. But now we are fine. We rely on the online software translation.
Through such an online live broadcast, we have connected Central and South America, as well as the United States. We hope they can attract more Spanish-speaking people into this Tzu Chi family.
Volunteers from 10 countries in Central and South America shared their touches of doing Tzu Chi on the cloud so as to encourage more people to join.
We will send resources to the local areas so that you can contribute to Tzu Chi. Remember that as long as you are willing to do it, we will be your biggest support.
After Tzu Chi US Medical Foundation received federal certification, it became apparent that the medical center in Alhambra had limited space and needed renovation. For the time being, the Medical Administration Office temporarily relocated to the second floor at the Tzu Chi Almonte Service Center, putting this extra space to continue their work.
Due to the pandemic, a simple yet respectful moving ceremony was held.
Tzu Chi Medical Foundation received federal certification at the end of last year. Since we received the certification, we have to hurry and take the next step. With the current renovation, the administration department moved over here to El Monte, which is a place full of blessings and wisdom.
We welcome the medical team back to their home upstairs. We are all family here.
Moving day is a big day, but after listening to the other volunteers, I realized that we are not moving house, we are arriving home.
The important thing is that in the future, we hope that our medical foundation can reach the same goals and purposes with our teams in East and West Los Angeles, helping Tzu Chi missions take deep roots here.
With everyone's excitement, there is hope for the future and enthusiasm for the medical mission as volunteers help relocate the venue with firm faith and ambition.
In the United States, the Tzu Chi Greater Washington, D.C. chapter has been providing free tax filing services since 2012. This year, due to the pandemic, Tzu Chi volunteers encourage people to stay at home and complete their tax filing process by phone or email. For those who need to file taxes in person, Tzu Chi volunteers made an alternative plan, allowing people to stay in their cars to minimize contact.
Tzu Chi Greater Washington, D.C. chapter has been providing free tax filing services annually since 2012. For the first time, there are no cars lined up in the parking lot, and people are encouraged to stay home instead, adhering to the pandemic prevention measures.
People can stay home and contact us by phone or by emails. This way, we can still help them file taxes online. We can still do a good job.
For tax filers without a computer or an email account, Tzu Chi volunteers made an alternative plan.
With the situation this year, the number of people coming to the liaison office to file taxes in person have decreased significantly, and most of them stay in the parking lot. Our volunteers will complete the tax filing processes in the office, then bring the documents outside for them to sign and bring home.
For lower income tax filers, having a free tax filing service can reduce the cost of time and money. But as the COVID-19 pandemic has yet to cease, the number of tax filing offices has decreased significantly. Tzu Chi Greater Washington, D.C. chapter has adapted to still provide service for the community, expecting to receive more than twice the amount of people compared to previous years, helping over 200 people this year.
The Tzu Chi North Toronto Liaison Office in Canada may read envelopes of blessing and wisdom while the weather was freezing outside. It was rare to have small gatherings during the pandemic, and the group also used this time to recite Buddhist sutras.
While the weather was freezing cold, people's hearts remained warm as Canadian Tzu Chi volunteers braved the snow to come here.
Since the emergence of the COVID pandemic in February last year, I don't have a chance to get together with the brothers and sisters to worship the sutras. It's been a whole year now, but today coincides with our gathering to make red envelopes of blessing and wisdom, as I also had the opportunity to be with the brothers and sisters to pray together. For this, I'm very grateful.
May we learn grand lessons and benefit all beings. May we all do good and bring harmony to the world. We came today to post those banners, and we will be a good disciple for Master Chen Yen and the world, and we will do all good deeds to benefit all sufferings.
The cold north will never freeze, as the hearts of people are always warm like spring, overcoming the cold storm outside.
As soon as the vaccine arrives in Taiwan, the reason why the command center can quickly list the number of doctors and nurses who are given priority lies in the list deployed in advance. However, every hospital had at least thousands of staff. How is this list established, and what challenges did they face? Follow a report as we learn more.
In a hospital, when it comes to epidemic prevention, the whole building is actually just like a fortress. Everyone is a soldier, except for the frontline doctors and nurses who have direct contact with members of the public. Even for the administrative staff who stay in the office may be inadvertently contracted with environmental viruses. In the hospital fortress, in resistance to the century global pandemic, no one is an outsider. To safeguard everyone's health, vaccines will be the key to victory. Taking Simon Gan Hospital as an example, there are more than 400 physicians, almost 1,000 nursing staff, and more than 500 medical technicians in clinical laboratories, as well as more than 400 administrative staff. And finally, more than 300 outsourcing workers such as cleaning staff. With such a huge number of staff, the central government now requires the hospital to compile a list for the COVID vaccine and categorize it into medical staff and non-medical staff.
Non-medical staff comprises of general administrative or logistical, personnel, finance, accounting, and general affairs are all non-medical, including our collaborators in cleaning and delivery.
The two categories are clearly distinguished, highlighting the most realistic problem when vaccines arrive. The number of people receiving vaccine is large, while the quantity of vaccines is limited, so medical personnel will be given the priority. But how to arrange the vaccine receiving order? They are hospital administrators, assisting the self-financed clients to arrange logistics at the lobby counter. They contact with 30 to 80 clients each day.
They need to prepare their passports, air tickets, or the original documents for working or studying abroad so that I can start helping them with further logistics. Once I finish handling 10 or 20 clients, I'll use hand sanitizer to wash hands. However, it'll make my hands very dry. My palms will crack and then turn red, swollen, and itchy.
Although the staff is not working in the ward area, he is, for example, at the pricing or registration counter. In fact, he has to contact so many people coming for consultation every day. His risk level is higher than that of the ordinary medical personnel. So I think we have to put this group of staff at the front of the rank.
At this moment, it is necessary to assess the exposure risk and divide it into 3 levels according to the contact frequency with the contracted patients. So the vaccine receiving order is determined by comparing different exposure risk levels with medical and non-medical personnel categories.
But in the end, it must be based on the quantity of vaccine arrived at the manufacturer's advice, as well as the willingness of these prioritized medical staff to receive vaccines.
If there are significant factors that make him reluctant to take the first vaccine, then the situation will become more complicated.
They unanimously said that to start injecting vaccine to medical profession, considering the receiver's identity and his risk level, and finally his personal wish, is more complicated than one can imagine. The new anti-pandemic challenge for Taiwan in 2021 is just about to begin.
Green energy development should focus on the big picture, though implementation at smaller levels can begin. For example, small hydropower can be done in ditches and dikes and don't require expensive equipment. Follow a report as we learn more.
On the west coast of Taiwan, between Da'an River and Dajia River, 3,000 hectares of farmland depends upon the Huli irrigation water.
Irrigation in many villages and towns such as Holi, Waipu, and Dajia all comes from here, as there's a wide area of irrigation.
This old farmer was born and grew up in this area, and he knew since he was a child that Huli irrigation water was quite abundant.
Holi irrigation water descends from east to west. Within a short space of 500 meters, there are 18 water drop points. Looking at this water flow, it's a pity that there is no small-scale hydropower plant here.
From the first drop to the third drop, the entire 3 plunges are concentrated, with a hydraulic head of 3.6 meters.
Seeing that the water does not generate electricity, and we have all the occupational diseases, it's really a pity that this money has been escaping.
The Huli irrigation water hydropower plant was completed in 1986 and calculated based on a household's monthly electricity consumption of 300 kilowatts. At that time, the electricity generated by this ditch alone was enough to supply an entire village of 100 multifamily residents. It was considered a pioneering work in Taiwan when it was first opened. It was quite exemplary. The monument on the wall commemorates this, and it was estimated that more small hydropower plants could be installed. However, after more than 30 years, there were no new hydraulic installations, as this incident seems to have been forgotten.
We need to reach a certain standard before we'll develop it. This efficiency is so low and power generation is so small. So is it worth doing? These have to be considered clearly. There are some small hydraulic cases, but we did not continue to push it at the beginning, though we have been reviewing it.
On the other hand, Japan, which has similar topography and landforms to Taiwan, has become mature and scaled such hydropower projects and policies. Especially after the 311 Fukushima nuclear disaster, green energy has been valued. In the past 10 years, small hydropower has flourished in Japan.
Japan has obtained 9.8 gigawatt through such a small-scale hydropower system.
The so-called small hydropower plants use irrigation canals or other waste conservancy facilities to install hydropower system of less than 20,000 megawatts and less than 100 kilowatts is called the microhydraulic power, which can also be installed downstream of a reservoir.
The 4 penstones of Lanyang power plants are undergoing hydroelectric power generation. The tailwater after power generation is called Daniel Creek, and the downstream can irrigate more than 5,000 hectares of farmland in Yilan. Previously, this micro hydropower generator was installed. Although its power generation is not large, it proves that water power can be harnessed.
The fatal disadvantage of hydroelectric power generation in the river is that the water turbidity is too high. This turbine broke down during the discharge of sand in the upstream reservoir.
The recent rain in Lanyang Creek caused turbid, and it was necessary to discharge the sand at night. The water turbine unit hit the ground when it was placed, and at that time, our axis was slightly damaged.
Taking an inventory of all places in Taiwan, Taipower uses the tailwater and cooling water of the reservoir to install 12 microhydraulic units. As long as the dry season comes, these microhydraulic power generators are shut down.
If the water level is not high enough, it won't move.
Taipower self-developed and designed meantime micro hydroelectric power plant is installed downstream of the Jugong power plant and uses its tailwater to generate electricity. However, due to the lack of water in winter, most of the time it is like now as the turbine is not in operation. This is an inherent limitation of small and micro hydropower.
Green energy is not wrong, but it's relatively unstable electricity.
There are still many obstacles to overcome in the development of small hydropower plants.
The effectiveness of the turbine's operation is subject to a number of factors such as the angle of the blades and the shape and size of the blades, which can be different. Taiwan does not have a calibration facility.
In precision machinery, Taiwan dominates the world. But has it worked hard to generate electricity in small hydropower? No, because there's no guiding mechanisms.
We bought these machines, but first of all, it is expensive. And secondly, Japan is reluctant to sell because they're afraid that the technology will be stolen.
Unable to purchase it from outside suppliers, local engineers started to think of a way to do it themselves as a test platform was set up outside the Lanyang power plant. In the future, it can provide domestic companies the chance to test the performance of turbines, hoping to establish more exact specifications for the machinery.
We can control the flow of water through our unit, and then all the data can be collected in our power plant and then recorded.
Looking at the advantages and disadvantages of small hydropower plants will be addressed in our next episode. Utilizing small rivers and hillside communities can actually expose many to the benefits of hydropower.
In Taichung, there's a visually impaired student, Gao Jianzhan, who plays the erhu. With the guidance of his teacher and the company of his mother during his practice, Jianzhan is able to perform wonderful songs with the erhu. Under the guidance of his teacher, Jianzhan is able to perform a light melody using the erhu. Jianzhan is in his senior year in high school. He was a premature baby, which not only caused him to be blind, but he also suffers from brain damage. However, when he's playing the erhu, he is full of confidence.
I think that I performed quite well. It really brightens up my mood. I like it when people applaud me. I like it the most.
The teacher who is instructing, Xu Qingming, is also visually impaired. The teacher and student who are both blind communicate through language and music.
I do not need to spend too much effort on pushing him. He always has the initiative of practicing by himself. Sometimes, he even tells me what songs he wants to learn.
In school, he learns from his teacher. When he gets back home, Jianzhan's mother always spends time to accompany him to practice.
When he performs well, I'll compliment him. I think that it is better when I compliment him.
I would like to thank teacher Qingming for teaching me how to play the erhu. I would also like to thank my mother who accompanies me during practice.
Mama.
When he's performing solo, he's extremely focused. His biggest wish is to perform in front of a bigger audience. Here's hoping that Jianzhan will be able to shine in the world of erhu. In Malaysia, during the pandemic, a nursing home in Malacca is facing financial difficulties. Through social media, the nursing home director has learned that Tzu Chi provides medical assistive devices and filled in an application. After assessing their needs, volunteers delivered hospital beds and other supplies to the nursing home. Let's take a look.
A nursing home in Malacca takes care of seniors, physically challenged people, and mentally challenged patients. During the pandemic, it faced financial difficulties.
Most of our sponsors is food, because people cannot come out to sponsor us food also. So that was the time I was very worried because we got only rice and mee-hoon only. Hello. Hi.
Shyamala has learned from social media that Tzu Chi Malacca chapter lends medical devices, so she sought help. After assessment, volunteers delivered 2 hospital beds and 5 bags of toilet paper.
I was just checking your Facebook, everything. Yeah. Then only I got your. Actually, I called the office, right? This one is actually for my bedridden patient. It's difficult for them to feed them. All that. Sometimes they tend to fall down from the normal single bed. So when you pull up the rails, they won't be able to roll. Okay.
So take good care.
Okay, sure.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
As charity organizations help each other, the underprivileged people can feel the warmth of society.
Next, we meet a senior Tzu Chi volunteer from New Taipei City's Banqiao, Wu Bitao, whose certification number is 229. In the past 40 years, she has dedicated herself in the home visitation part of Tzu Chi's charity work. Let's take a look at her story.
Aid supplies are gathered in the Jingsi Hall as each year before the Lunar New Year arrives, Tzu Chi volunteers will prepare and assemble the gift packages for care recipients. As an experienced and well-seasoned Tzu Chi volunteer in the home visitation front, Wu Bitao is also quite busy.
These aid items are for the care recipients, and we must ensure we package up our love along with it. We also have some care recipients joining us to assemble the packages. I'm so thankful for their assistance, and to see them have the heart to do their share to help, so they can experience what it is like to do something for someone else.
Born in Yunlin's Taishi Township, Wu grew up disadvantaged herself. When she stepped into Tzu Chi 42 years ago, her main focus was in the charity home visitation sector, as she empathized with them.
I joined in 1979, and it was because I saw Master Zheng Yan's heart of compassion. Back then, there was only home visitation to care for the needy, so that's what I focused on. On this path, I also learned to count my blessings in life.
Now Wu is over 60 years of age and has begun to pass on her knowledge to the new recruits. But inside her heart, a wish remains.
I continue to hope everyone can unite and help the needy, so they can receive medical assistance and have enough to eat. This is what the sutra means when they say to ease the pain and suffering of others.
In the US, the Tzu Chi Orange County Liaison Office held an online cooking lesson during the Lunar New Year due to the pandemic. We'll leave you with these images. Thank you and goodbye.